What if I told you one of the most watched NBA games of all time is one you've probably never heard of? A random game on a Friday in January 2003. A game between the 7th seeded Rockets and the 9th seeded Lakers. This game would draw the highest ESPN regular season viewership ever at 4.88 million viewers. And if you think that's high, well, in China, over 200 million people tuned in. For context, the most watched Super Bowl in history peaked at 127.7 million. Why are they tuning in? Well, because this is the day Shaquille O'Neal met Yao Ming. But before we get into this story, a quick word from today's sponsor. I've just had an incredible month of going to sporting events, which is why I want to give today's sponsor SeatGeek a huge shout out. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now you can get tickets to the MLB, and the NBA and NHL playoffs are not far behind. I love using SeatGeek because of its simplicity, and they got your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know when you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer's guarantee. I recently just got to the Dodgers game and the Lakers game, and I got my tickets through SeatGeek. And you know I came through for you guys. Use my code WooHoops10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code WooHoops10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek, and now back to the video. To begin, we're going all the way back to 1895. In 1895, just 4 years after Dr. James Naismith had invented the game of basketball, the game would make its way to China. How? Well, we've all heard the story. Dr. James Naismith invented the game of basketball so students would have athletics to do in the winter. What you probably didn't know was that he did this for the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA, a place where a large number of students will have to go on international missions. And one of the YMCA's biggest targets at the time, China. As the end of the final dynasty in China neared, the country began opening itself up to foreign religions. Thus, YMCA missionaries would come to the country, spreading the gospel of the Bible and basketball. Ever since, the country has developed a love for the game, a game that has outlasted empires, regimes, wars. Through all the conflict, basketball lived on. In 1979, 3 years after the death of Chairman Mao, China was ready to enter a new era under Deng Xiaoping, an era where they will welcome Western culture. What better way to do that than invite over the first ever professional sports team from North America, the Washington Bullets. The Washington Bullets would play 2 games in China, one against the national team and one against the Bai Rockets. And one thing was clear, China absolutely loved the sport. And 24 years later, instead of Chinese people marveling at a Western game, this time, people are tuning in to watch the Chinese marvel square up against the best in the West. Though this was Yao's first matchup with Shaq, it's not his first with the Lakers. If we go back exactly 2 months earlier, Yao would actually have his breakout game against the Lakers, where he infamously scored 20 points, resulting in this donkey kiss from Charles Barkley. But while that's all fun and games, there was a caveat, a 7'1", 325-pound caveat. Shaquille O'Neal was not on the floor. Now facing off for the first time, Shaq was ready to make his presence felt. But Yao had other plans.
Live in Shanghai at 10:30 in the morning as O'Neal goes right at Ming. Goes to the net. Down to big man. Yao, first touch. Compact center on his feet. Big fellas in the building. Ming, the second block on O'Neal. That's going to have to go to his jump hook in transition. Yao on the other end.
Yao would start the game on fire, dominating on both sides of the court.
I tried to hit him with a smooth finger roll move, block. Next play down, I tried to hit him with a fadeaway, block. Next time I tried to come up, dunk, block. First guy that blocked my shot 3 times in a row.
Now Shaq is off to a brutal start, kind of metaphoric to the season he's having thus far. You see, Shaq's decision to get surgery right before the season started has caused a lot of backlash and distaste from the Lakers fan base, who is sick of seeing Kobe Bryant doing all he can to carry the team night in and night out. Without O'Neal, the Lakers would stumble out the gates, going 3-9. On November 22nd, O'Neal would return to the lineup and begin turning the season around, going 15-11 in games that he played. After Yao Ming's breakout game against the Lakers earlier that season, his fame would reach a whole nother level.
Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming. I love you, Yao.
We all love him. Not only Chinese. You got Mexican, Hispanic, Black, African, everyone. We all love you, Yao Ming.
Yo.
Yao.
Yo.
Yao.
Don't just take it from me. Listen to Bill Walton.
The only person who has had the relationship with the media that Yao Ming has had this early in his career in history of the NBA has been Magic Johnson.
But where there is attention gained, attention also leaves. Shaq is no longer the most popular big man in the league, a sentiment that will be echoed when Yao Ming is voted in as a starter for the 2003 NBA All-Star Game.
ESPN can pretty much project Yao Ming as the starting center in next month's NBA All-Star Game. With the majority of the precincts reporting, Yao has 230,000 more votes than Shaquille O'Neal.
Not only that, Shaq's teammate Kobe Bryant would also receive more votes than him. For the first time since 1998, Shaq isn't the West's leading vote getter. His quote-unquote sidekick is. Shaq, the reigning 3-time Finals MVP, is seeing his grip on the league beginning to slip. But today is not the day.
And the oldest starter, Cuttino Mobley at 27. There's Shaq inside, as called for, Tom. He threw it down. Shaq, little jump hook that time. Over Ming.
Now I'm mad. Now I got to go in the playoff mode. Now I got to keep turn the power, turn it all the way up.
Here's Bryant on the move. Find Shaq and look out!
On the other end of the court, after starting the game on fire with 6 points, Yao would be held to only one more basket the rest of regulation. But while Yao is starting to slow down, regardless of the result of today's game, he's gone blow for blow with the best in the league, something that you can't say for the previous generation of Chinese players. In 1984, 5 years after the NBA games in China, a new commissioner would take over the league, David Stern. One of his first initiatives, to thank China for all their hospitality shown towards the NBA over the years. Thus, Stern would send over a vague invite, saying basically, "Come over sometimes, we would love to have you in the US." Right away, the Chinese agreed. They sent over their flight details. They were on their way. Stern, now scrambling, would organize a tour for their national team, delight in US culture, while also training and scrimmaging against top NBA teams. For the short amount of time he had, Stern absolutely knocked it out of the park. All that's missing now? For Stern to one day visit China. Oh, and how did the Chinese player do against NBA talent? Well, here's a quote from Chinese player Wang Fei. "These players are not human. They are from another universe." Less than 20 years later, Yao Ming is not only looking like he belongs, but he could be a star. Though right now, he's struggling. Not to worry though, as Steve Francis will pick up the slack.
Francis steals, stops, and shoots three to give the Rockets the lead.
On the topic of Francis, in my last video I had mentioned Francis was in some ways responsible for Yao being in Houston because he had represented them at the draft lottery. This isn't just a sentiment that I came up with. This is legitimately how Francis and Yao felt about each other.
You ready? Huh? You got it. I got it for you. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here, right?
For their entire tenure, Steve Francis would always have Yao Ming's back. And none more so than today, where Steve Francis would drop a career-high 44 points.
Starting all-star backcourt in the West. Francis and Circus Hooper foul!
Down 2 with a minute left, the Rockets would continue to feed the hot hand.
It's all the way. Around O'Neal to square the game at 89.
With the game tied, the Lakers would call upon Kobe Bryant.
Fans on their feet. Bryant working it on Mobley. Spins and shoots.
Down 3, the Rockets needed one last miracle.
Yao comes out to get it, trying to set some room for Francis for 3 in the tie.
The game would go into overtime. Couldn't have been more of a perfect result given the amount of eyeballs on the game. The fact that this is even possible for this many people to be watching this game is a miracle in its own right, all made possible by a trip David Stern took more than a decade prior. In November of 1990, Commissioner David Stern was in Tokyo for a historic moment, the NBA's first ever international games.
And that is a sight to behold, and I'm sure that little girl will never... I'm surprised she's not running and hiding.
But while the spotlight was on Japan, Stern's sights were already set on his next stop. For years, he sensed the potential. But now, 5 years after the NBA China Friendship Tour, he's ready to see for himself. Stern and his wife would decide to go on a weekend trip to China. First, he will visit the Terracotta Warriors in Xi'an.
The Terracotta Warriors was found accidentally. One day, a group of farmers digging well here, and they find some pieces of the pottery.
As the tour began, their tour guide discovered that Stern worked with the NBA. As a diehard fan, the guide lit up, rattling off a list of trivias, including their favorite players and teams they root for, all to a stunned David Stern. At the time, China had no official media deal with the league, which meant fans were already going out of their way to pirating tapes of the NBA. At that moment, like the farmers, Stern himself has stumbled upon his own Terracotta Warriors. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make the NBA the #1 sports entertainment in the fastest-growing country. Later that trip, he sat down with the executives at CCTV, China's national broadcaster. The room was uninterested in Stern's pitch, but Stern was ready to make a deal at any cost. When it came time to talk business, Stern would make an offer that CCTV could simply not refuse. He would give away the NBA for free. That's how much he believed in China as a basketball market, the only region in the world he's ever done that for. Stern and the NBA would send over weekly tapes of the top games, and the timing could not have been more perfect. Again, this was November of 1990. China's first taste of the NBA was Jordan versus Magic in the finals. However, it wouldn't be until 1994 that China would broadcast its first ever live NBA game, the 1994 NBA Finals, where Hakeem Olajuwon will lead the Rockets to a championship. The same Hakeem Olajuwon who is now at the game today, who had this to say about Yao.
I saw you in the hallway give him a high five and say, "Keep it up, big fella, you've been enjoying it."
I'm very happy to see how he himself.
But like in many parts of life, integrating another culture into the league was not smooth sailing. Days before this matchup, this message from Shaq would go viral.
Wang Zhu, whatever your name is, you want some of Shaq food? Come get it. I'll be waiting for you.
Break that thing down for you. Say he's a mountain in my way.
Okay.
I will try to conquer it by all means necessary. Got a little bit of that,
and I'll be ready.
A little bit of that Malcolm X in him, by all means necessary.
And I'll be
ready. Chinese with a little bit of brother in him. What you gonna do with that? What you gonna do? All right, now, okay.
You know what? Beware of this. When I dropped it and put it right there.
O'Neal said he was joking and has since apologized for offending anybody.
This discourse would then make its way into the broadcast booth. When the topic of Shaq's rant came up, Tom Tolbert didn't hold back.
I think it's ridiculous because I think it wasn't meant to be derogatory. There's no malice behind it. And you know what? We want our athletes to open up. We want a little piece of them. We want them to show personality. And then when they step out of bounds a little bit, they get cracked. And no wonder we get all these athletes who give us cliches and give us tired answers, and we never get to hear anything. And one more comment. If we had microphones in locker rooms, they would think we're all racist.
Bill Walton, on the other hand, did not agree.
I couldn't disagree more. This was not in a locker room. This was on a national television show.
Bill, but how did he say it? How did he form it, though?
Shaq is the leader of the NBA.
Was he not trying to be funny?
At someone else's expense at someone else's ethnicity. And that is unacceptable on any front.
I disagree. I think we all need to learn to laugh at ourselves a little bit more.
Also in attendance of this game was Shaquille O'Neal's father, who would then on the air read aloud a Christmas card Yao had sent the family.
It says, "Dear Mr. O'Neal, best wishes for the holiday. Thanks for the upcoming year. Thanks for the encouragement. You are my #1 player. Be like Shaq, Mr. Yao Ming."
In overtime, the Big Diesel set out to prove why he is who he is, hunting Yao one-on-one in the post for the entire period.
O'Neal strong, right hand.
On the other side of the court, the Rockets would instead leverage their perimeter speed, running an offense through Steve Francis, who got to the paint at will.
Blows right through it, right at Shaq. Draws the foul. And it's flagrant.
O'Neal would score 10 points in OT. Yao Ming, on the other hand, would only score 2.
Heard the shot. Now he gets a bright. Oh,
but it turned out to be the most important 2. While Yao didn't put up an impressive stat line, he did something much more meaningful. He impressed Shaquille O'Neal. From that day forward, Shaq would hold the utmost respect for Ming.
I definitely respect his culture. Whenever I'm in Shanghai, we always have tea, we always have great conversation. One time he had me on the post and he turned around to shoot a fadeaway and I jumped as high as I could and he still had about 3 feet left. I was like, dang, this dude is tall. People like to say he's 7'7", but he's really like my favorite convenience store, 7-Eleven.
Over the years, the two would go on to form a genuine friendship, one that would last to this day.
I didn't know you spoke English until after the 3rd year. One time I shot a shot on your baseline. You said, "Nice shot," in perfect English. And I looked at you and I said, "Yeah, you speak English?" You said, "Yeah." You never asked me.
For Steve Francis, despite only playing together for 2 seasons, when Yao Ming had his jersey retired in 2017, one of Yao's handful of invited guests would be Francis.
He was Yao's all-star teammate in 2003, Steve Francis.
To the people of China, Yao was more than a basketball player. He was a symbol of hope, a bridge between the East and the West. To Asian Americans, he was the representation the sports world had long been missing. What many thought would have been the beginning of a wave of NBA talent from China was instead, ultimately, the golden era. And there was no better face to lead that era than Yao Ming.